Rain hammered the training grounds like bullets, turning the concrete into a battlefield of echoes. Lieutenant Davis swung without thinking, an instinctive, explosive strike meant to break a recruit's will. But the moment his fist collided with her jaw, the world froze. She didn't stumble. She didn't cry out. She simply turned her head back toward him, wiped the blood from her lip, and the look in her eyes made the lieutenant's stomach twist. Because in that instant, he realized, too late, that the woman he had just struck wasn't a regular trainee. She was a Navy SEAL. And she had a past he knew nothing about. The punch that changed everything, the rain-soaked dawn had barely broken when Lieutenant Davis gathered the recruits. His reputation echoed through bases across the country, hard, unforgiving, and sharp as a steel blade. He believed in discipline carved through pain. He believed respect was earned, not given. And today, he believed he had a new recruit to break. Her name on the roster was Simple Reyes. No rank attached, no background flagged. Just another volunteer trying to survive the most brutal training in the region. What Davis didn't know, what the system didn't tell him, was that Reyes had been inserted into the program under classified orders. She wasn't here to learn. She was here to observe. Reyes stood silent in the formation, rain soaking her uniform, calm and unmoving. She had the stillness of someone who had survived storms far worse than weather. Her jaw was tight, her gaze straight, and her breath slow, steady, controlled. Some of the recruits glanced at her, sensing she was different, but none dared to speak. When the drills began, Davis pushed them harder than usual. Mud, crawling, sprints, and then hand-to-hand combat. The recruits groaned, exhausted, but Reyes moved like a shadow. Precise, clean, efficient. Every motion suggested training that couldn't be learned in a week, or even a year. Davis noticed, and it bothered him. He stepped toward her, chest heaving, rain running down his face like sweat. "You think you're special, Reyes. Think you don't need this training?" Reyes didn't answer. Silence, calm and cold, was her reply, and that silence triggered him. "Attack me," Davis ordered. Reyes hesitated, not out of fear, but caution. She had been told not to reveal her skill unless absolutely necessary. She stayed still. "I said attack me," he barked, stepping closer. When she didn't respond, his anger snapped like a breaking chain. In one fluid, heated motion, Davis launched a punch, meant to shake, meant to intimidate. It was faster than most recruits could react to. But Reyes wasn't most recruits. She turned her head a fraction of a second early, absorbing the hit without allowing the force to damage her. Still, his fist cracked against her jaw with enough power to send a gasp across the courtyard. The recruits froze. Rain, silence, shock. Reyes slowly turned back toward him. Her lip bled slightly. A red mark formed on her cheek, but her expression remained unchanged, steady, almost disappointed. Davis felt something then, something he hadn't expected. Regret, because in her eyes, he saw experience far deeper than he'd anticipated. Strength calm enough to be terrifying. "Lieutenant," a voice whispered behind him. He turned. It was Commander Briggs, the base overseer, his face pale. "What have you done? Do you even know who she is?" he hissed. Davis frowned. "A recruit." Briggs shook his head slowly. "No. She's Lieutenant Commander Reyes, Navy SEAL. One of the best we have." The courtyard erupted in murmurs, and Davis felt his world crack open. Reyes simply stood there, jaw bruised, eyes steady, saying nothing, because the mission she was on required silence. But inside, she felt something shift too. She had endured worse, but she had never been struck by someone who wasn't her enemy. This wasn't just a punch, it was a storm beginning. The truth behind her strength that night, the rain finally stopped, but the storm inside Davis wouldn't. He replayed the moment again and again. The speed of his anger, the impact of his punch, the look on her face afterward. Every replay twisted deeper into him. He wasn't a cruel man, but he had allowed pride and pressure to control his actions. He needed to apologize. Reyes sat alone in the dimly lit barracks, cleaning the small cut on her lip. She didn't wince. Pain was a familiar companion, but she did pause when the door opened and Davis stepped inside. "Reyes?" He hesitated, breath shaky. "I didn't know. If I had known, you wouldn't have hit me," she finished quietly. Davis looked down. "No, I would have respected you." Reyes closed the medical kit. Respect shouldn't depend on knowing someone's rank. Or their past. Those words hit him harder than he had hit her. Reyes looked at him for the first time with softness. Not weakness, but understanding. You weren't the first person to strike me. And you won't be the last. What matters isn't the punch you threw today, it's the reason you threw it. Davis swallowed hard. I thought you were challenging my authority. And did you earn your authority? She asked gently. Or did you force it? The question struck deeper than the punch had. Reyes stood, straightening her uniform. You have good soldiers here. But fear doesn't build strength. It only builds silence. Davis felt himself breathing differently. Slower, deeper, humbled. He saw her not as a target, not as a challenge, but as a leader forged in fire he couldn't imagine. Over the next weeks, Reyes trained the recruits, not by shouting, not by breaking them, but by pushing them to grow. She taught them discipline with patience, courage without cruelty, strength without ego. And Davis watched quietly, learning more from her than he had learned in years of command. One evening, after a grueling session, Reyes approached him. You've improved, she said softly. Davis looked surprised. Me? Yes, she nodded. You learned to lead without fear. That is the hardest lesson. A rain began to fall again, gentle this time, as if washing the last of the tension from the air. Davis took a deep breath. Reyes, thank you. For what you taught me. Reyes started to walk away, but paused. Lieutenant? Yes. She turned her head slightly. Next time someone challenges your methods, don't respond with a punch. A rare smile curved her lips. Respond with purpose. And with that, she stepped back into the rain, strong, unbroken, and unforgettable. True strength isn't defined by how hard you hit, but by how deeply you can change yourself, your beliefs, and the people around you.